Yep.
Wonderful. Everyone acknowledge that. And we're going to, well, before I share my screen and then lose sight of many people, I assume that everyone in the farming community knows each other. Give me like a hand raise if you want to do introductions, if that would be helpful to you. Okay, Tom. Anyone else? Just Tom. Well, no, let's do a quick round of introductions.
Just quick, just 5 seconds.
Just real quick, 5 seconds. Okay. So who you are and why you're here, meaning like, do you have a farm or do you work for an organization that's been organizing this? So I will start. My name is Jenna Umbriak. I'm the Director of Programs at Manna Food Center, and we administer the Farm to Food Bank program. And I'm going to turn it over to Cheryl because she's to my right.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Cheryl Collin. I'm the Program Director of Community Food Rescue. So good to see everybody. And you may remember that CFR is a program of Manna Food Center. I'm going to turn it over to Jeremy Chris.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jeremy Chris from the Office of Agriculture.
Thanks, Jeremy. Susan?
Hi, I'm Susan Wexler with Manna Food Center and the program Community Food Rescue and the Farm to Food Bank program.
Wonderful. Tom?
Tom Farquhar, Sandy Spring Gardens here in Ashton, Maryland. We participate by selling into the Farm to Food Bank program. Thank you.
Mike?
I'm Mike Shuffle. I work with Jeremy and Jackie at the Office of Agriculture.
Wonderful. Heather?
Hey everybody, I'm Heather Breskin. I am your tour guide on all of today's technology disasters. And as a side gig, I am also work with the Food Council, the Food Council team.
Thank you. Robert? Oh, you're muted.
I'm muted. Robert Shrewsbury Gardens.
Thank you, Robert. Okay. Who? I think, Robert, you're having, at least for me, you're having a lot of audio problems. Couldn't hear a little bit and then heard it very loudly. Maybe when it comes to Q&A, you can use the chat function, just to be clear we're getting perfect. Thank you. All right. We are at Amanda. Cather.
Amanda's microphone is, come here, man. Can you hear me?
I think that's.
Oh, yeah, there's two Amandas. I just noticed.
Peace. This is Xerox and Amanda with Purple Mountain. We kind of just came in and our computer's acting funny, but peace, everyone.
Join the club. Thank you for coming. All right.
It really is going back and forth.
Amanda, other Amanda.
I'm the other Amanda. I have Plow and Stars Farm here in Poolesville. And we've also sold into the Farm to Food Bank program. We're very grateful for that. So thank you. And we've worked with Community Food Rescue. So thanks.
One of the early adopters of Community Food Rescue.
Yep.
Tony.
Hello, I'm Tony Cohen with the Button Farm Living History Center in Germantown.
Thank you. Alan.
Alan Black, Germantown, Maryland. I'm just very interested with what our local farmers are doing.
Thanks, Alan. Tope.
Hello, I'm Tope Fajimbesi. I'm with Dodo Farms, and we've also supplied food to the Farm to Food Bank program. Thank you for having us.
Do you want to say something?
Oh God, you're going to make him log off. He just joined because
I mean, I didn't see him. He's not even here.
Yeah.
Jackie. Are you there, Jackie? Arnold? Did you guys fix her mic, or is she still having? Okay. We're going to skip Jackie. We're going to go to Gianna.
Hi, everybody. My name's Gianna. I am a reporter with Montgomery County Media and thewash.org.
Very cool. Thank you for being here. Who did I miss? Marcy. Marcy. Marcy, you're muted. Okay, well, hopefully Marcy will join us later during the Q&A. Great, we all know who's here, and what's going to happen is I'm going to give, oh, hello, Nee. I'm going to give a quick overview of the grant process. We're going to go through the application quickly and then want to open it up for questions. And the Office of Ag and the Food Council and MANA staff are here to answer any questions you might have. So I'm going to share my screen. All right. Can everyone see this? Somebody give me a nod. Perfect, thank you. All right, so we're here to talk about the Farm to Food Bank Capacity Building Grants 2021 edition. So this is the second round of grants. We did the first one back in 2020, also around this winter time. The purpose of the grant hasn't changed. We're still trying to assist Montgomery County-based food producing farms to increase food production capacity, specifically in order to contribute to the Farm to Food Bank program for the next calendar year, in this case, 2022. And so you are eligible for this grant if you are a Montgomery County-based food producing farm and that you want to make products available to the Farm to Food Bank marketplace in 2022. The amount of money we have this year is slightly less than last. Last year we had about $236,000, and this year we have a bit less than half of that, so about $100,000 total. So for that reason, we're capping the application at $10,000. Last year it was $20,000. And just like last year, you may ask for $10,000, we may award some of that. And so partial awards might be given. And this year we're being very specific. Only one application is allowed to be submitted per farm. Here's a look at the timeline for the application process. So we did open the application back on the 9th of this month. Today, we're having this information session that will, as we know, be recorded and be posted to the group shortly. The application deadline is the end of this month, November 30th. The review process will take place just shortly after that, the week we're thinking December 6th through 10th. So we'll have a review committee of about, I think we said 6 to 8 people. We haven't solidified all of those names yet, but a good group of folks who know or are adjacent to agriculture will be reviewing the applications. And then the Office of Ag and MANA and the Food Council will get together and make final award decisions. Those award announcements will happen the week of December 12th. And then for those of you that did this last year, you know that once the grant has been awarded, we'll get in touch with you and we'll sit down either in person or virtually to talk about the terms of the grant agreement. So that's when you'll be more specific about the commitment that you're going to make to the marketplace. And I'm calling it the marketplace, meaning you're going to make a commitment to offer something for purchase. We cannot guarantee that we will be able to purchase everything and anything you offer. That stays the same as we have been throughout the Farm to Food Bank process. So that's dependent on what funding we have available for purchasing, what other offers are coming in, the needs and the capacity of the food assistance network at any given time. So all of those things come into play when offers are made. We do typically and will continue to prioritize grantees in that offer process, but again, we cannot guarantee that everything you want to contribute will be purchased. Those agreements will be signed the first week of January. And that's when the checks will be issued once we have that signed MOU. And finally, you have about 5 months or so to spend all the funds that we provide. They should all be spent by May. This not on here, but we will have, again, probably 2 progress report periods during the year. We do an interim and then a final to tell us, how'd you spend the money, and give us wonderful photos of all the good that came out of it so we can report to our funders and hopefully get more funding in the future. This hasn't changed since last year for the most part. These are the different types of projects that are eligible for this funding. You're either going to be looking for something that increases production capacity, like new equipment or repairs to existing equipment, supplies that you might need, other types of infrastructure. We did add training this time. Somebody mentioned it as a possibility. We can talk more about that during the Q&A if there are questions about that. You might be looking for ways to extend the season and the equipment that goes along with that. Maybe you need increased storage capacity. You know that cold storage is always at a premium, so that might be something that you apply for. This would also cover any machinery or transportation equipment like refrigerated vans. And then it can also cover installation costs that are related to any of this equipment. We cannot fund ongoing maintenance. We can't fund staff salaries or general labor costs, and the other items we will not fund are listed here. So do let us know if you have questions on that. In terms of thinking about what projects make the most sense for the Food Assistance Network and what products you'll be putting forth offers of in the calendar year 2022. This year we have 2 great resources to help guide your decision making. We've got, this one is a couple years old now, a culturally appropriate foods list. This is based on a survey that the Food Council did in 2019 of different cultural groups in the county and what kind of foods they were prioritizing. So that exists. And then this year we did a survey of the Food Assistance Network partners that were most active in Farm to Food Bank to ask them to rate their, to basically rank the foods that had been offered up to that point. So neither one of these are considered comprehensive. You may have a product that you would like to offer that's not on these lists or that we haven't offered before. Generally speaking, though, I will say that we will continue prioritizing foods that make up a substantial portion of a meal and aren't there primarily for like flavor enhancing. So things like herbs we took off the list at some point this year. Again, we will not be prioritizing those products. Garlic, ginger was mentioned last year. Specifically, we're looking for fruits, vegetables, meats, eggs, dairy, those kind of products. But if you have an idea, please run it by us. We're happy to talk about what you're thinking. There's no minimum requirement for the amount of food that you would estimate is going to be provided due to this grant, but you do need to give us an estimate in the application. But as I said earlier, the exact details of what it will be and the kind of general amounts that you think you'll have will be worked out during the agreement process after a grant is received. And I've already said this bit about our offers and what our ability to purchase is dependent upon. These are the elements of the application that the review committee will be looking at. So we'll need to know, how much is this going to cost, and tell us, you'll have to give a budget that's, detailed enough for us to know how the money is going to be spent. We also want to know that these investments are going to benefit your farm in the long term. So you'll have to let us know what your plan is to keep them, keep those investments working beyond 2022. We have priority areas around helping farmers that have been historically marginalized, as well as farms that provide culturally diverse products. And we also want to know if you're working with any sustainable farming practices and what that means to you. Since it is a pretty quick turnaround in terms of when you'll get the money and then when you need to spend it by, we do want to know that you have a plan to utilize the funds in the time that we've allowed for that. And there is a place on the application, which we'll go over in just a second, where you can talk about your previous partnerships or current partnerships with food assistance providers. And also there's a place to indicate, whether you were already participating in the Farm to Food Bank program. We will know that, but the reviewers won't necessarily know that. And then whether you've made purchases or donations to the program in the past. Oh, the other thing was whether you've gotten the grant last year. Now, whether those will be positives, definitely participation in the program will be a positive to see that you've already shown a commitment to this initiative. In terms of whether getting a grant last year will be a negative or a positive, I can't really say. What I want to say is that it is going to be part of the whole story of your grant application. And, depending on what the project you're proposing is, maybe how it relates to what you applied for last year or doesn't, all those things will have to be weighed. So we know if you got a grant last year, so there's no point in trying to hide that fact. And so I'm just letting you know that it will be part of the consideration. So the application is a simple Google form. We'll look at it in a sec. If you have any problems accessing it or filling it out online, just the wonderful folks at the Food Council have offered to really be the IT support in this and the application process support. So please let them know by emailing info@mocofoodcouncil.org. You have the application link in a couple of emails that I've sent to the listserv, but if you need that, you can also contact them, and it's also on the Food Council website. Google Forms isn't great about allowing you to save and then go back, so you should really be prepared to fill out the form in one sitting, and please make sure you hit the submit button at the end, I had this experience recently where it just will not go where you intend it to go, and then you might have to do the work over. So do remember to hit that. All right, so let's take a look at the application quickly. If I can find it. Okay. All right, is everyone seeing the application now? Nod. Yes, thank you, Tope. Perfect. So all of this I've already told you, but it's a nice review. When you go to the application, you can see the timeline again and all the important email addresses and links to get more information. And then the first part is just telling us who is applying. So your farm name, the person that we should be contacting about the application, email address and phone number, and then where your farm is located. So this should be where your farm is located. I know that some people, have a different address for where the check will ultimately be sent and where invoices will be, or where we will send payments for invoices and all that. So this is the actual location of the farm. And then there are questions about that land. So is this land leased or owned? Is it agriculturally or residentially assessed? So you'll just select yay or nay, and agriculturally or residentially. This one's a little finicky, so don't put the $sign. It will give you an alert that you can only put numbers in this field. So whatever you request, also you can't put a comma. This is what I learned when I was filling out the application recently. So just a little quirk, just numbers. This is where you indicate where you awarded a capacity building grant last year. And then this section is really where you're going to tell us what you're going to do with the money and really make your pitch as to why this would be a good investment. So you're going to talk about the specific need that you're looking to fund. And remembering that the goal is to produce food for the food assistance network through the Farm to Food Bank program. So making sure that you address the linkage between what you're funding and your ability to do that. This question might seem a little redundant. We've asked it a couple of different ways. So one way or another, we really want to make sure that you're articulating, again, that connection between what you're going to do with this money and how it's going to help your farm have more food to provide to the Farm to Food Bank network, or to offer to the Farm to Food Bank network. And this is where you'll give us an estimate of how much food you think that will come from this new investment. What types of food will you be focusing on? Remember that this isn't set in stone until we have that negotiation after the grant is awarded. But this is a great time to tell us what you think might be possible. This is where you tell us how you're going to sustain it past this year. This is to make sure that you do have a plan to ensure that all necessary permits are acquired if you're doing a project on leased or residentially assessed land. The estimated timelines, this is again where you tell us that you are confident you'll be able to spend the grant in the 5 months or so that we have available for that. Give us an estimate of your farm's annual budget. That gives us a nice sense of how this fits in with your bottom line. This is where you go into a little bit more detail about the budget and what specifically you're going to be purchasing and how much each of those things costs. And you can upload a spreadsheet with that budget listed. If you have estimates that you've already received for the items you intend to purchase, you can upload those here. It's great to know that you're already far along in this and have really thought it through. That's a boon to the application. Since there was a lot of money floating around in 2020 around the pandemic, we do want to know if your farm received any other emergency funds due to COVID. And this question gets to those priority areas that I mentioned earlier: culturally diverse products and racial and or ethnic diversity in farming, and or other marginalized identities that you associate with your farm, and or sustainable growing practices. And lastly, tell us a success story or two from recent years that show how you've already contributed to food security in Montgomery County. And you can, give links to videos, you can upload newsletters or media articles, anything that tells us the story of all the amazing things you've already done and why we should fund you. And then you will see a button here that says submit, and you will hit that, and that is the application. All right, so I know I went through that pretty quickly, but it hasn't changed that much since last year. And all of this information is, again, it's on the application, it's on the Food Council website. You can reach out via email. But right now, we've got a good chunk of time for any questions that have already come up. So I would say either use the raised hand function or raise your hand if your video is on, and we'll try to address what questions you have. Tony.
Thank you. That was a great presentation. My question is, last year we applied, we were funded, and one of the things that was covered under the funding was seed. By January, by the 1st of January, a lot of the seed companies had run out of stock because of, people stuck at home who decided to become farmers. And I'm guessing that might happen this year. So I guess my question is, that month between grant approval and signing the contract, if we got approved and seed was part of it and we went ahead and spent, spend the money, would we be eligible for reimbursement under that?
That's a great question. I should have preceded the question and answer period by saying some questions we may not be able to answer right here on the spot, and we'll have to get back to you. that may be one of them. I would like to give it a little bit more thought personally, but I do want to open up if Jeremy or Heather or anyone else has thoughts on it. And I'm going to try and find a pen.
Tony, that is an excellent question, and I think you are correct in your prediction regarding the supply of seed. So I would propose that if the seed that you requested in your application is in fact the seed that you went ahead and purchased, and then you did in fact get an award, I would hope that we could work with you to consider the reimbursement, because at the end of the day, you're going to be growing the food that we want to be part of the program. So that is my very quick response from the Office of Ag. But it's easy for me to say I'm not the gatekeeper of the money. My job is to make sure the farmers apply and try to answer any questions that they have. But when it comes to the fiscal part of the programs, I make recommendations, but Jenna and Heather really, they have the lion's share of the financial part of the program.
Thank you.
Tom, do you have a next question, or do you want to speak about this?
It's really about this.
Okay.
Because we have a similar problem with a major piece of equipment, which is the roller crimper to manage cover crops. And the lead time on the orders is about 5 months now. And we need to have the equipment by May for it to be effective for us, because that's the moment when we've done a lot of cover crop investment this fall. So it's like I'm sitting on pins and needles about, do I place this order? Would it be reimbursable? It's the same question as the seed question, but it has to do with equipment. So it would be, I think, I hope the answer would be that if we go ahead and place the order and we don't get the grant, fine, then it's on us. But if we do get the grant, we hope we might be able to apply it then to the expense that we've placed, on this piece of equipment. That's our capacity building item really for this year. So.
Yeah, Heather's nodding. I absolutely support the concept. I think I just want to make sure that it doesn't that there's not any reason why the funder, who's really footing most of the bill, would object to that. I don't think so at this point, but I don't want to give a final answer until I've just thought through all of that. And I'll get back to you, but I think that makes complete sense to me. Heather, do you have anything to add?
No, I'm just trying to think about it certainly is all aligned with the purpose and the vision of the program. I think it's just a matter of under limitations. And my knowledge, I think it should be okay, because technically the money comes from MANA, not from the funder. So
right.
I think.
Mike,
Okay.
I'd like to ask a question. When it comes to the cost share programs, both NRCS and MDA have these requirements that you will not expend any money until the project is approved. A lot of that has to do with the parameters of the project itself, making sure that the plan is accepted and signed off on. Those kinds of constraints with cover crop programs are different than what we're talking about here, when we can have a clear connecting of the dots between the purchase of the seed and the program to produce the food, or the purchase of the equipment to produce and harvest the food. Do you have any, can you see any, in your experience as the former area coordinator at MDA, do you foresee a problem with what's being suggested here?
No.
Okay.
The difference at the state level is there's so many more steps of approval. So to get a state cost share application approved, not only did it have to be approved at MDA's headquarters in Annapolis, it then needed to get approved by the Board of Public Works. So even though the state agricultural department would approve it, there's no guarantee the funding would have come through at the very end. So that's why they were always very careful to tell farmers to say, hey, don't do a thing until we get that stamp of approval from the BPW. This is not nearly the same level of scrutiny. So, I mean, it makes sense, Tom and Tony, that if that's what you plan on spending the money on, just keep the receipts and prove that's what you spent it on.
Thank you, Mike.
Sorry, just looking in the chat. Okay, somebody else had their hand up when Tony did. Maybe it was a similar question. Go ahead, Tom.
You know, during this season, Susan Wexler has developed an enormous body of information about the recipients and the producers and how to match those up, because she's actually, gotten involved in the chow match, matchmaking process. Someone is replacing her function. Is there a way that some of this tremendous background that she's developed about who wants what and who's producing what, because chow match obviously is a blunt instrument for making these matches, and Susan is a very refined, brings a very refined mentality to the questions. And it, as she departs this role for a well-deserved break, as a producer, I just worry that I hope we don't lose some of that, fine granular information about, and in fact, in a way, we need more. Producers need more information about which recipients want what, and what days of the week do they want it, and what quantities do they want. And to the extent we could get some of that information, even in our crop planning stages, December and January, that would really be helpful for us to optimize our investments in our program, in our operation, that would then yield benefits to Farm to Food Bank next season.
Thank you, Tom.
Oh, great questions. I'm gonna jump in, and Susan might have some other thoughts. You're right. I mean, Chow Match does the matching based on the profiles that the donors and the recipients fill out. And Susan has done the matching manually. But the great thing about Chow Match is that we have all of that historic record. So I can print off a report anytime and see who's been matched with who and what they've received. So we have all of that great information, and either I or Susan's successor will be having access to that information. In terms of more information, we did send out a survey to our food recipient organizations, and that is one of the links that Jenna talked about for you all to refer to when you're looking at placing your proposal now. So we did ask our food assistance providers to rank something like 57 different food items, produce, meat, and eggs. And you'll see the ranking of those under different categories. So hopefully that'll help guide you in your own proposals. Susan, do you have anything else to add?
No, just to reinforce what you said, it's all there in Chow Match. Even if Chow Match is blunt on the front end, it's quite deep on the back end. And I think you can have confidence that the relationships are known and the products are in there as to who got what and when.
Okay. Also, Susan has told me that she is available for consultation if we need it. So
it's true.
We'll be supporting, I think, this successor to the degree that she's available to do so.
Absolutely. I'm still very committed to this whole process.
What else?
This is Mark Grossman from the Farm at Our House.
Hi, Mark.
I'm attending the meeting. Hello, I'm attending the meeting a little late. Got lots of school stuff to deal with today. And maybe you talked about this before. This is, I think, for Jeremy, Chris. Are we able to still apply for more Marbico projects? Because that's been an enormous help for us. over the years.
Mark, this farm to food bank capacity building grant is not going to disqualify you from applying to the Office of Agriculture's matching grant cost share program that we have with Marbidco. Now, yesterday I was talking with Michael Protus, and his question was a little more detailed than yours, Mark. He said, if I was able to get a grant through the capacity building grant program, could I use that money plus whatever I need out of my own pocket to be eligible for the Marbidco requirements, where every project the farmer has to have at least a 50% investment into the project for eligibility? I told Mike that I had to run that question by Steve McHenry and Dan Sweeney at Marbidco. So that came up yesterday. I didn't have a chance before today to circle back with him on that. But is that really kind of what your question is pertaining to, Mark?
No, I know. I mean, thank you. Yeah, you answered it. I literally was just asking, is that a program I can still apply to this year in addition to this program? That's
yeah, absolutely.
I'm not trying. I don't think I have plans to leverage. Even though that's creative thinking.
Yeah, that's well, that's a creative question, and you'd expect that from Michael Protus. So, and I thought it was a very good one, because obviously $10,000 is not a whole lot of money when you've got a bigger piece of equipment, or if you're going to be getting a larger size, like walk-in refrigerator, you can spend a lot of money very quickly. So I have that on my list of things to do, to check to see if any money from, let's say, the Farm to Food Bank program could count towards other income and the farmer's out-of-pocket expense for the Marbidco grant.
Yeah, I think that's definitely worth pursuing. I know we built a walk-in fridge this past year, and we got I think we got $7,000 from the Marbidco program, and then the county put in, or was it? I think it was Mana who matched $5,000, but the project was about $38,000. So it required, I had to demonstrate a little bit of financial help to make that happen. So,
very good.
That's a great question.
Very good, Mark.
I think I tracked all of that. I will say, I think the Marbidco match market you're referring to it was separate from the capacity building grants. We had some additional funding because CARES Act funding. We had some additional funding that we made available for farms that applied for that particular cold storage grant process, if I'm remembering correctly. But Jeremy, let us know what you learn. We want to be helpful, and if this can be part of a bigger investment portion of the funding needed for that, I think that makes sense.
Now, I don't know who else is on the call. I know for us though, that compressor-based walk-in fridge is a big move, because it puts us on the path towards getting GAP certified. So I don't know whether the farmers are thinking about that, but if we're talking about if we're talking about capacity building and providing food on a bigger scale, I think that's the bottleneck. That's a huge bottleneck.
Yeah, that's a really important point. All right, just have a few minutes left. Are there any other questions? Okay. Well, I will just reiterate that Heather and her team are here for you should you have questions about the application. I mean, many of you have also emailed me. That's okay. If you want to run a project that you're thinking about by us, let us know. A few of you have already done that. Yeah, so we're here to help you through the application process, and we look forward to receiving your applications. And with that,
I just want to thank Jenna for your leadership, and Heather, and I just hope that we can pull off another successful grant. And this is great. Thank you very much. I'm very encouraged by where we're headed.
Me too. Great. Well, thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
We'll
thank you
see you
so
soon.
much.
Thank you all. Stay well. Take care. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yep. Happy Thanksgiving now, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.